welcome to the Game Forum. My name is Lindsay. Today I'm going to be doing a beginner's guide for Stranded Deep. Just a couple quick tips and tricks to help everyone get started in this game. Things I really wish I knew when I first started playing. This is going to be focused on the PlayStation 4, although most of it will carry over to other platforms and PC. So first off, you can grab things with L2 and hover them in the air as if you're carrying them. The tutorial doesn't really tell you this, but it's easy enough to figure out. One thing you may not know, though, is instead of having to lug around larger objects like barrels and tires, try throwing them back onto land. While holding L2 to hold the object in front of you, move toward the direction you want to throw it at, and then press R2. This can be used to throw it back onto the land and save you from having to make so many unnecessary trips back and forth. The inventory system in Stranded Deep can be a little confusing at first. One thing you should definitely look at focusing on, though, is making all the tool belts. This really helps save a lot of space in your inventory system. So essentially the way it breaks down, you have your tool belts, which are objects stored on your belt. You have your inventory for your person, and you have whatever is in your hand. Keep this in mind, however, if everything is full and you pick something else up, you will drop whatever object is in your hand, as you don't have enough space. In the beginning of the game, you can also notice that sometimes if you eat too many coconuts, you can become really sick, and it lets you lose all your water. This is never a good place to be in, especially when you have low resources. A good tip is you can drink from 2 coconuts and eat one of those coconuts at one time. I'd wait at least a couple hours before having any more. This is enough to get your food and water bar up one space, but any more will cause you to become sick from coconuts and make you lose all your water again. Taking a look at the cooking in this game, at first I thought the mechanic was broken. It just didn't seem to cook the meat sometimes. What's actually happening, though, is the meat almost cooks in real time. It can take a while, sometimes between 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the size of the meat. It's best to go ahead and get the meat cooking, and then go about what you were doing before. Soon you'll hear a ding, like a kitchen timer going off. This is when you know the food's actually done. Another side note for cooking is build a smoker as soon as possible at your main base camp. Cooking meat above regular fires will only let them last a couple of days. However, smoking the meat on a smoker will have it last forever. Also to be noted, while smoking meat, do not take the meat off after you hear the first ding. You have to leave it on there a little bit longer until when you put your cursor over it, it'll say smoked meat. You'll hear another notification to let you know the process is finished. Also a quick note with water stills, you don't have to use just palm fronds. You can also use fibrous leaves, which I highly recommend because they regrow. It's much easier to find. Now for just a couple little tips and tricks to help you have a better play experience, especially when first starting off. Whenever you go to another island, make sure to bring all the crates and supplies back to your main island. This will really help you from having to do a ton of backtracking later. And also make sure to not lose crates. Crates are incredibly valuable for future storage as you continue to expand and need more areas to store more supplies. Also keep an eye out for label makers. I try and always keep one on me at all times, mainly in my raft. Whenever I go to a new island and make a hut to save the game and sleep in, I'll go ahead and label it and change the name so I know if I come back later exactly where I'm at, just in case I happen to get lost. It's a great trick that saved a lot of time. And label makers can be used an infinite number of times, so don't worry about it running out. It's also a good trick to label crates. The crates will actually display the name on the front of it from what you've labeled it as. This can really help getting the supplies you need in a timely manner, instead of having to constantly go through and open 1,000 crates in a row to find that one piece you were looking for. So one thing I ended up doing, and I'll share with all of you guys, is I ended up creating a map out of paper to help myself navigate around, since there isn't really a map in the game. And the center point is always your origin or starting location. I'll have links to 2 maps you can download and use for free, just to help you get started in playing the game and help you find your way around. Use the blank spaces to fill in the names of your islands and label the shelters with the label gun so you know exactly where you are at any given time in case you happen to get lost. While out exploring islands, definitely look for PP plants. There are not enough of these in the game, and anytime you're poisoned, which can happen fairly frequently, you'll need some of these to make an antidote. A good trick with these too is it doesn't even matter if they're expired, you can still make the antidote, or plant them to grow more. I highly suggest having a couple antidotes on hand, at least on your raft, just in case you happen to run into something you didn't expect. This can really suck when you don't have any antidotes and might have to reload a save point just to try and get through, losing a lot of progress. Another thing to keep an eye out for while exploring is lanterns. Lanterns are great. You can set them all around the beach to help you keep working through the night. Or you can craft a hook and put them onto the side of your house. If you continue to get enough of these, you can pretty much have a very well lit house. This really helps out instead of having to stumble around through the dark or keep your flashlight on all the time. And FYI, the flashlight batteries will not run out, so don't worry about trying to save them. Anytime you go to a new island, also keep your eyes open for bubbles around the island. This is a good way to see if there's wrecks underneath without having to swim all the way around and might end up overlooking something. As long as you can see some bubbles from the coast, it's a good indication that there's probably something underneath the water worth exploring. While you're under the water, don't forget to look for clay. Clay deposits look as if they're brown rocks underneath the water in little piles, and you can only get to them by using a pickaxe, so don't forget to craft a pickaxe if you really want to go find some clay. I hope this gives you a good direction on how to get started, and to any veteran players out there who have some other tips and tricks, please leave them in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see other videos like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.